welcome to Ducking Reality.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Well, I guess we'll start with how I found you and how you came into my life, and then I have a couple questions for you, and then we'll just kind of take it off from there. I feel like we have some good tangents.
Yeah, definitely do.
So I was lucky enough to find you almost a year ago. Yeah. In April, I think it's a full year.
Yeah.
So that's
amazing.
Sounds
right to me too.
Yeah. So you came into my life just as I was doing some huge changes. I had moved across country, divorce, all of that good stuff. And I was trying to figure out more ways to handle my chronic pain and my injury. And I was really afraid of another chiropractor. I'd been to a couple that were not great, a couple that were really good, but they were all like the really cracky kind. And I don't know, is there like a different name for the type of chiropractic you do versus what most people think of? Because sometimes when I start to tell people about you, I don't even know the best way to describe what you do, because I don't have it succinct and I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have a good description, but I'm like, no, you need to see her. She'll change your life, and it's not all cracky. And I mean, every once in a while you do a move that will
put some motion through a joint space where a sound comes out like a crack, a pop, just joint space gas releasing, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, but I don't really know kind of what makes you so different, and I don't know if it's just the type of chiropractic you do, if it's your special sauce or what. Yes. So that's one of the things I wanted to find out from you.
Awesome.
And how you even got into this.
Yes. All amazing questions. Yes. So I guess we'll start first in the order that the questions were kind of delivered. So there are, chiropractic can look very different practitioner to practitioner. I do think that the mainstream public has this understanding that the chiropractic adjustment is this huge explosive motion that's moving somewhere in the spine, and there's this big crack and this huge movement that's coming in the body, and it's like you're moving the bone. Like that's chiropractic. And on one hand, a lot of chiropractors are doing that. And as you very much have experienced in my office, it's kind of far and in between, at least with the adjustments that we have shared together. So chiropractic is really after connecting interferences in the body. So interference means where is the body not receiving communication from itself. So this becomes palpated as either tension, as some type of tension stored in the body. So the tension can be expressed in either the muscular tissue that's a little more bunchy. It can be expressed in the fascial system that's more stretchy through the body. It can be expressed as inflammation that's creating some bogginess in the body. It can be expressed as tension between two bones, where the bones are not fully getting their free range and the bones are having a little bit more charge, a little bit more buzz. And the truth is, there's many ways to access the body. Yes, many chiropractors are just mobilizing spinal segments. And is that an adjustment? I don't know. Through their lens, yes. Through my lens, I'm looking more at how is the body connecting fully with itself? Where is there room to create more connection? And it might not be at the site, at the source where the disconnect, the interference is at. So in the way that the lens through which I see the body is through a framework called biogeometric integration. Biogeometric integration creates a conceptual understanding of how the body's relating to itself through using a geometric map, which creates a relationship pattern from the lower part of the body all the way to the top of the body, from the back to the front and the side spaces between. And through the lens of BGI, the understanding is created that tension is expressed in different systems. So as we talked about, the muscular system being more bunchy, the fascial system being more stretchy, the inflammatory response being more boggy, the bone system creating a little buzzy restriction in this way. And anyway, so BGI creates the landscape for understanding where is the tension stored in the body. And then that starts to create a lens of how to access the freedom of the tension stored using the geometry of the body. So the relationship of how the body's holding itself together to then connect an integrative moment so the body can then release, but integrate, like make whole again, like move through and develop more awareness for how was it and how does it want to unwind that. So perhaps that starts to answer some of the, the question.
I mean, that sounds amazing too. Like that. So when you look at a body, do you see it in that kind of geometric?
Yes.
You don't see what like most people look at when they see a body.
Well, I guess that's hard to say. Like, what do most people see? It's like, we're only all seeing through the context of experiences we have to see any one thing, right? So the framework of awareness that I bring is, yes, through this geometry that I've studied through the biogeometric integration lens of relationship of the parts and the different subsystems that are holding the body together. And there's other practices that other tools that I integrate into how to bring connectivity, ease, integration of tension back into the body. And by this, I mean, I use craniosacral in my practice to work with the CSF and how it's moving its pulsation through from the deep inner midline point out through the cranial bones, through the extremities of the arms and the legs. And I also use Reiki in my practice, which is a direct tool to interface the life force energy, the vital force energy that's coordinating, organizing, sustaining, and also dissolving aspects of the body, right? Yeah. So I use all these tools together to help ignite the sensory capacity of the body to feel more. When the body can feel more, it can receive more. When the body can receive more, it's understanding what's there, and then it can start to adapt. And adaptation, the ability to modulate from one thing to another, to change, right? To not be fixated, stuck in one spot, is really a hallmark of health, right? The ability to move freely, not just in our body, but it's like the body-mind play off of each other, right?
Yes. And that was another thing I noticed when I came in and started to see you. We talked more, like, even sometimes it was 10 minutes, sometimes it was like 15 minutes.
Yes.
But we would talk sometimes about things.
Yes.
And you would say stuff to me that would rock my world sometimes more than my therapist.
Yeah. Because...
And it would be like, oh, wow, like, that whole body, whole...
Absolutely. Because, the mind, let's see how I want to say what I'm wanting to say here. So the way we think is how we perceive our experience, and our thoughts are constructing our perceptivity, our receptivity of our environment, which directly plays into how our body's holding itself. So our thoughts just don't like float in the sky somewhere and they're just kind of out there. Like the body's expressing exactly the emotions that are moving through the body. So for me, it's very valuable to, and it's also very personal. Each individual in my office. Some people, the access point is through the conversation and getting the mind to become aware of its own restrictions that it's made through sharing some conversation and then guiding that into the body work, right? Other times people, it's like they are one sentence people, that's it. And it's like, okay, it's all hands-on exclusively because that's how that person is best able to receive the connection of what's showing up for that day. But getting into the way that the mind is thinking and getting to the hub of the consciousness is really, that's the source, right? Like our consciousness creates our reality, right? The world is not how the world is how you are. This is out of the Talmud, which is a beautiful way of phrasing exactly that. It's like your consciousness is how you see the world, and your body's expressing that consciousness.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, and it really does shape, because we've talked about it 100 times and I'll probably say it 1,000 more, but like the stronger I've gotten physically, and it's like the easier the mental stuff is, the easier like the bullshit of every day is. Like my phone got stolen 2 weeks ago at Starbucks. I was in getting coffee, and as I walk out, there's a kid in my car. And you said and I was so mad. And I mean, I was like, it's a mess. My life is crazy.
Each of us, probably feel that too.
Yes.
Through our own context,
But so I said to you, like, I'm just frustrated. And you were like, well, what's going on that? And it was such a simple sentence. But you said to me, what's going on that phone that needed to stop?
Yeah.
And it was just that way of changing, like...
Yeah.
I mean, I was frustrated, but like, all right, it's my Oakland tax. Like,
yeah. You're like, okay, Oakland, here's my donation, kind of donation.
Oh, yeah, you get robbed. So, I mean, but it was that whole, and then when you said it too, it was just kind of in passing, but for like the next 24 hours, your voice in that sentence just kept coming up. And then I was like, oh yeah, well, this has been going on, and I should have been setting this boundary. And it was like the things that I knew in my head should have been kind of I should have been doing or should have been not doing.
Yeah. But I think you're speaking exactly to the point. It's like we get in these patterns and we get in these rhythms, and then something like intercepts the thing that's like in the habitual rhythm, and then it's like, whoa, kind of like stop, reassess what's going on. Why did that obstruction, like what did that obstruction create room to realize of the relationship to the thing that was obstructed?
Right. Yeah, but it's easier. I think your approach, maybe it's your approach that I really like, because it's easier than when people are like, oh, well, everything happens for a reason.
Oh, yeah,
well no, it
like,
doesn't.
Not that
like,
helpful. It's like this arrogance, you know, like, well, you know, life
like,
is great. You're like, okay, I get that. And
or like, oh, you must have brought that into your life. Oh, really? No, I didn't ask for that. Like, just wanted some coffee.
Yeah. Because I think there's a little ego or like greater than thou kind of overtone in those types of comments. So it's hard to really meet where you're at, like not you, but whoever the you is for the thing happened, right? So I think, you know, seeing something for what it really is, and just dropping in to the connectivity of like what was going on in that moment. Like, let's connect into that moment and just feel that moment. And I remember that conversation. And for me, when I was hearing you share your story, that's just what showed up for me. It was what was on your phone that you needed. I forget exactly the words I used, but something to the sentiment of like what was on your phone, or what was your phone pulling your attention towards? Like, what was it about your phone that was creating the distraction? And I'm using more words now, I know, than in the moment. But it was really, I think the point of what I want to say is like connecting into the fullness of the now, right? Which seems to somehow ever endlessly bottom out. It's like, you know, oh, like now I'm present. And then you like do some more of your present time consciousness work. And then you're like, whoa, now this is present. And it's like, oh my God, like I thought that was present way over there. And like, now I know, like I'm more present. Like how much more present? Like it's almost fascinating. Like how much more is there in a present moment to like let yourself take in. And so I bring that up to share, like in hearing my client stories when they come in about, well, I ask them like, how are you? It's a very open-ended question, but you know, just think like some people, when they ask like, how are you? You're like, okay, I'm good. Yeah. When someone's like more like asking to hear, right? Not asking to just like, yeah, it's kind of say like, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah.
Instead of like, how are you?
Yeah. It's a very different tone. An intention behind it, and you can feel that intention. It's not like when a stranger's like, hey, how are you? Like there is that like, or even sometimes when you go to a you know, not a regular doctor, because that's kind
like
of
a medical doctor,
but yeah, like
medical doctor,
because you are a real doctor.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, like a medical doctor.
There sometimes when they're like, hey, how are you? Good to see you. You're like, well, one, I wouldn't be in your office if it was. You know, I mean,
like, can we just get to the point?
90% of the time, you're not in your doctor's office for good reason.
Personal relationship that's there with that doctor, because you know you have like 5 minutes,
right?
And they just want to like check. That's also not fair to say, but they have boxes that they're checking off because they have like 100 something more people to see for the day, and they're really trying to like condense something down into one moment, which is, you know, a flaw of perhaps like the mainstream medical platform
and insurance companies.
Yes, yeah, a whole nother conversation. Yes. However. Yeah, like really, but to get back to, I guess, to our point, it's like, yeah, really being asked, like, how are you, with a curious ear, and not just a curious ear, but an authentic ear to hear, like, how that person is. It is very different.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. It's because the words are the same, but the intonation's different, because the intonation is the tone that's expressing the true sentiment behind the words that are expressing the idea trying to be conveyed.
So I guess I do want to know like how you got into chiropractic, but I also, the way that you think, like how did you come into your way of thinking and like getting this knowledge? Because you do have so much knowledge and you've read so much, because you've already given me so many book options and suggestions that I love. And I mean, but because I, you know, going through your bio, I know you went to school for art history, and I know
read that.
Like that.
Thank you, Siobhan.
and I understand kind of how art history and art leads into the body, like because those things
that you can see that connection.
Oh yeah,
that's
I mean,
so sweet.
Nature is kind of the best artist, and like
Siobhan.
are like, you know, that's my
Thank you for getting it. Without me needing to explain, actually.
When I saw it, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense because of the way that you think. You have or at least for my perception of the way that you think is that you have like you see the body in a beautiful art form.
Yes.
And even like the way that you move is kind of a little dancerish, which I guess we can get to the swimming soon. That fascinates me and I need to see it.
By that she means synchronized swimming.
Yes. Oh yes, it's not just any swimming.
Yeah.
This is fancy. I just don't even know how you could hold your nose. Like I still plug my nose when I go into water.
Well, just to tangent off that, we weren't holding our nose, we were nose clips. So, you know.
There we go, little secret.
Yes.
But yeah, so how did you kind of get into the philosophy of the way that you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. So where to begin? I guess to speak perhaps more broadly, that is, or maybe it's actually more connected. Like I became very, well, maybe we'll lace them together because this is related to how I became a chiropractor. So I grew up in a yogic traditional household. So maybe that's what I mean to really say. So my mom and my dad both were very sincere practitioners of yoga. And by that, I don't just mean like the asana practice, like the physical practice on the mat. I mean, you know, they're very much into meditation. They had their teachers and they're studying the, you know, the different writings out of this philosophy.
Most lay people would call yogis.
Yeah, but not like a hippie dippie. Right. I mean, it was very sincere practice of the study of consciousness.
Like the educational practice of yoga.
Yeah,
almost.
The philosophical practice, which then gets embodied through the meditation practice and then the yogic postures. And yoga is really about the study of consciousness. So how your body is a receptivity antenna, we could call it, and your sensory capacity is really like a portal to experience, and the quality of your experience is related to your receptivity, which is your perceptivity, and this is your consciousness. So I kind of had some of that like in my household growing up, and later after, like in my 20s, some early 20s, we'll say, I realized like, oh, I think I actually really want to choose to study this, you know, like really, like kind of dancing around the yoga things with my parents, you know, at the ashram and this and that.
Well, nobody wants to be into what their parents are into.
Yeah, no,
even if it's cool shit. Yeah. You're just like, no, that's my parents. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's like you kind of want to, because I think there's a desire in like the human to be empowered for your own self-creation, right? So it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It was just I didn't come into choosing it as my own until my early 20s. And I realized like, whoa, like I was living in Italy after I graduated college for like 6-month period. And in Italy, there wasn't a lot of yoga around me. And
just pasta.
Yes. And I think the subtraction of the thing made me realize the attraction of the thing. Mm-hmm. And it made me realize the value of that thing in my life, and I really craved it, and I didn't know at that point in my life like how to put words to why that felt so nourishing on my soul. All I knew was like, I'm going back to California and I'm doing yoga teacher training. And like that was clear, and I did that. So I came back to California and I did my teacher training at Yoga Kula in Berkeley, and I had the experience for the first time through that teacher training course, which I forget how long it was at this period of time, a year, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, and I realized like, whoa, I always thought like this type of yoga, like the yoga asana, the posture yoga, I was like, I thought this was like for flexibility, like this is for stretching. Yeah. And I love stretching in like my synchro lifestyle. Like I had experienced the freedom it brought me in my body, but in a whole different way in the yoga practice of these postures.
Did you just say synchro lifestyle?
Yeah, synchronized swimming.
I love it. No,
yes, when I was a synchronized swimmer. So my synchro lifestyle, that's obviously a component of a synchronized swimmer, is having tremendous flexibility. And I always had felt, how much freedom on one sense that had created in my body. And anyway, so I was like, oh yeah, I could teach that. So like, and like the yoga thing somehow, I was like, that's like where I'm going. And anyway, so I remember in my yoga teacher training course that when we were going through the asanas, I had no idea until it landed that like, whoa, like yoga, like people think yoga is just for stretching. Like I thought that,
right?
Like that part of yoga, right? I'm like this, like my thinking was changing because the way my body felt was so different. Like I felt like the structures of my body were suspending up against themselves and expanding. And because my body felt like, I would say for the first time, truly free, my perhaps negative thinking patterns had an opportunity to reorganize. And that to me was very fascinating. It wasn't like I did anything to change my thinking. Like the thinking naturally shifted because my body shifted. And I was like, oh my God, people don't know about this.
Yeah,
and
they still don't know. I just found this out like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. A DJ's class, DJ's mobility.
Yep.
A CrossFit sweatshop. Yes. So like, so anyway, you asked the original prompt to the question was like, how did I start to formulate kind of my worldviews, we'll call it, and like, anyway, it was through a curiosity of consciousness. So, what does it mean to be aware, conscious, and how does consciousness manifest into life expression, into form, And yeah, that I guess is the root of my curiosity, of my philosophy. So the things that I engage with are often under, I guess, the subject umbrella of like consciousness and how consciousness takes form. And so for that reason, like, like physics and metaphysics and quantum physics are very curious to me because they start to explain like nature, nature in terms of dynamics, of force dynamics, how things work together and take shape and form. And meditation practices are extremely interesting for me because they start to offer the opportunity to inhabit the pure experience of how consciousness is expressing. And, one of my meditation teachers has said, which I know you will recall me sharing, is, the first order of reality is experiential. The secondary order of reality is conceptual. Experience is first, the feeling, the experience is, and the words are there to start to describe the isingness. So feeling, sensing, and then that kind of takes this more full circle. Is like chiropractic to me opens up the sensory capacity within the body to feel more, to receive more, to experience more of itself. And when the body is experiencing more of itself, it's actually experiencing more of its environment because there's no separation between outside and inside. So,
yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So you've just kind of
a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I think part of me has realized that I'm so jealous of people that have had this kind of knowledge for so long.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if some of it has East Coast, West Coast, or like if it's just, because when I was like in my 20s, I went to massage school and I started to get into all of this and Reiki, and I just got like hammered by my family and my friends and like, that's so out there, and whoa, you're such a hippie dippie, and like that's none of that. And now it's like, how did I knew it and I lost it and I found it again, which I mean, I'm incredibly grateful for it, but I think I'm really jealous of the people that have had access to this and have had it so long, like, because you are so comfortable and you just, like, being even around you get that kind of sense, and I can see things differently. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I need to take a little bit of that with me.
Yeah.
And I am just fascinated at trying now to figure out and understand, like, how people got that and how, because you found your calling and what, like, you need to be doing. Because, I mean, the changes, I mean, we've talked about it, and we will eventually put pictures up of like the changes that my body went through over the last year, before surgery and things like that, and the difference in it. And it's just, it's shocking because it's not anything that hurts. It's not anything that is like, I don't ever leave here and feel like, oh, it's not even like PT or workouts. You feel great, but then later on you have like that hangover feeling of the workout. It's just all so simple and joyful and relaxed, and you're always so calm. And now I've gotten to see you kind of out in the real world a few times. And once the world opens up, hopefully we'll have like lunch soon.
Also,
maybe a glass of wine. I don't even know. Do you drink? Like, you're very healthy.
Speaking of wine?
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine that you are, I kind of figured you were probably at least a vegetarian, if not a vegan, just, you know, thinking.
Yes.
And then I read
Very
that
perceptive
you are,
of you.
Yeah.
Plant-based.
It's not really a shocker in California. Got about a 70-30 chance out here. But I did read that you were plant-based on the...
Yes.
So how long have you been plant-based? Because now knowing that your parents were kind of into the yoga, like, have you... then my first question would be like, oh, so did you just grow up vegan?
Right,
like,
right. Yeah.
I'm Irish Catholic. We grew up with meat and potatoes. You know, so now when I meet, and now especially being out here for almost a year, like
Are you vegan too now?
No. I can't do it. I can't go from having a dog named Bacon to being a vegan.
Oh my gosh, Siobhan, you're killing me. Okay, so there's a lot of things there. Maybe let's start. So to answer perhaps very blatantly, my parents both vegetarian, so I grew up vegetarian, and then in my 9 or so years old, for about 10 years or so, I ate meat. My grandparents ate meat, and I was like, what's that? I want to eat it. Like, or curious, because like, my grandparents are making that thing look delicious. Like, what is that?
Yeah. And I gotta imagine, like, there's like, when have been growing up in and this is probably a question, when you grow up in a vegetarian house, like the first time you're in someone's house and they're cooking meat, like what that smell must be like.
Yeah.
Some people must either be like, that is the best thing I've ever smelled.
That, and
or like,
what is that?
Other people are probably like, why is there a cremation going on?
So I can't remember about my friends. I just remember my grandparents. And, you know, I think probably when I reflect back on it now, I was tuning into like their enjoyment for what they were eating and wanting to partake in their joy. And this is making me think of like my one dear friend who's now a practitioner in Rhode Island, Dr. Jesse Steinberg. When we were in chiropractic school, he would eat raw carrots in class, and all I could hear was this Jesse like eating this carrot, and it just sounded like the most delicious thing. I was like, I've never craved a raw carrot in my life, and like I just need a carrot like now. That crunchiness of it. Oh my God. So anyway, point being, like, I don't know how much of the craving was I wanted meat as much as it was being attracted to the like the energetics, right? The embodied enjoyment and picking up on that subtle current, right? But anyway, to say more aligned with the question. So vegetarian growing up until about 9 and 10 or so, ate meat for about 10 years or so. My sister was vegan at some point in high school, and I gave her so much crap for that. She probably... Oh my goodness. I was like, why would you not eat yogurt? Like, the best thing ever is yogurt. Like, you know, Greek yogurt. So good. Anyway, and she had like all her animal rights reasons and planetary reasons, so environmental reasons. And somewhere in my early 20s, I started maybe kind of like feeling into and doing my own discovery of the things that she had shared, and realized that actually felt more aligned for me as well. You know, animal cruelty reasons as well as environmental reasons. And then I also, in the study of nutrient density, nutrition, I realized that I just wanted to eat more plant-based food. So it felt like a very natural redirection of my attention. Now, since then, I'm still vegan, but I feel that I have like in my early vegan days, I think many vegans are also like very critical of other people who are not vegan.
Yeah, they are.
And they have very strong, very strong. And I was like this too. And now I feel like I understand actually the value of meat because of how, ancient traditions, how, their connection with the land and how the relationship of animals and plants and like with the soil and, the different nutrients that are available, like in terms of omega-3s that you can't quite get from plants in the same way that you can get from an animal. And this plays into like the ratio of omega-6 and omega-3. So shout out to Dr. Dan Murphy for like chiropractor in Auburn, and one of my professors in school who really illuminated this biochemical, conversation of the value of having alignment in your omega-3s and omega-6s, and how it's quite difficult to get that from a vegan diet. And he argued actually impossible. And we did some blood work, and I thought my blood work was going to come back like great. And I was very surprised. But either way, I'm still vegan today. And for my reasons that I still feel very aligned with, which I think is the bigger point, in anything in life is like, know what you're doing, know why you're doing it, because again, it's the consciousness that is actually creating the relation to the experience and the relation with the experience. And I don't think everyone should be vegan. I don't think everyone should be paleo. I think you really need to find what is your why, what is your, like, why are you doing what you're doing? And
how does your body respond to it?
Right. And that's part of the why, I think, too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I mean, you do everything with such intention that it makes me really like, oh shit, I don't even think about that. Like,
well, we are all only where we are at.
Right. But it does, it's like, I can, like, it's just your consciousness is like, you can see it. Like, I can see how conscious, like, and how present you are. Yeah. And it's almost like, I can catch myself being like, you need to be as present as she is. Like, and even though I'm listening fully and I'm totally engaged, I can still see, like, it's like earlier when you were saying the layers of consciousness, like, you think you're present and then you're like, oh wait, no, I can get even more.
It keeps dropping.
And I can actually, because you're so present, and now with that, I can see myself kind of getting even more.
Offers like reflection. But
but I think that what we were just saying about the diets is really important, because I do some days where I don't do any, like, I'll do a plant-based day or like 2 or 3, I try not to. And some of that is just because I don't go grocery shopping a lot. So there's nothing to eat.
It's like, how long were you vegan? Oh, like 2 hours until I eat
I didn't eat yesterday, so that was a vegan day. I'm a huge fan of fasting. My mother used to yell, I've been doing it since I was a kid, but everyone used to call it an eating disorder, but now it's just fasting. It's very convenient.
That's funny.
But so I was talking to some kid the other night, and he was talking about his new diet and all this stuff, and I was like, well, how do you feel on it? And he kind of looked at me like, what? And I was like, do you feel better on it? And he was like, oh, well, they say. And I'm like, I don't care what they say. Like, how do you feel? Yeah. And he just kind of looked at me, and I was like, no one's ever asked him, like, how does your food make you feel? And I'm still learning this. Yeah. I like to fast because it helps my brain. Like, if I have a big day where I have my to-do list is 15 items long, I get up in the morning, I have my water, I do, my vitamins, and then I don't eat. I'll blow through that list, because by 9 o'clock, my brain is like on a hyperdrive because of, I don't know if it's actually ketosis. I don't know all of that. I used to know some of it, but, and then on other days when it's like, I have to sit at the computer, I'll set myself up with snacks, because it's helps my brain to be snacking while I'm working, but it's like the snacks I choose are smarter. Yeah. So I'm not, but it's just paying that tiny bit of attention. And then if I don't have meat for a couple days, I will crave it. And I can do different kind of protein supplements, and it won't be the same. If I go like a week or 2 without red meat, I can literally feel it in my spirit. I start to get grumpy. And I have a little bit of, like, I'll have a burger. Yeah. And I do try to get my meat, as responsibly as I can. Yeah. I'm still poor, so it's, sometimes whatever's on sale. Yeah. But I think, you try to do it with the best intentions that you can. Yeah. But it's, once I have that meat, then I'm kind of back to normal. Yeah. So I think it is important that you set your intentions, but it's also important to figure out what really works.
And I think that is actually truly the bottom line. And this is also very much aligned with my philosophy with chiropractic and the adjustment. It's about the quality of your experience. And that is the bottom line. Like, you are your own best doctor. No one is going to tell you better than you, because you are with yourself in your body 24/7 from the moment you are consciously a fetus in the womb to the moment your body is exiting this life. Like, you are the only person through every experience seamlessly in your life. So you are, one of my colleagues who practices in Guam, Dr. Amy Gates, we would like to say N=1. You are the constant. And other things, the experiences are the differential. So you do something and you receive. How did my body experience that? Did it feel constructive? Did it feel destructive? Neither are good or bad. They're just observations. And then you can move forward with, well, why would you choose something more constructive? Or why would you choose something destructive? It really doesn't matter what you choose. It just matters that through my perspective anyway, I think the value is in the awareness of seeing what you're choosing, because that's the empowerment point. So like, this gentleman that you saw and you're like, well, how does that make you feel? And he like, oh, I don't know if I checked in on that, but all the books said like, do. And you're like, yeah, but how do you feel? It's like, knowledge is just knowledge, but what is the embodiment of the knowledge? Because that's the power. Yeah, the quality of the experience.
I think you are, and I've seen a lot of doctors, you are the first doctor I've ever heard say, you are you are your own doctor and your best because you are the... It actually makes me a little, because no doctors say that. Like,
yeah.
And then you go to a doctor and you say, no, that's not it. This is it. And they'll tell you, no, that's not. You're like, no, this is how it feels. And they'll be like, well, no, that's not what it's. Well, I feel it. How come I'm wrong?
Yeah. It's incredibly invalidating because if your real experience is not matching with their like knowledge and projection, and it's like distorting what's happening. And then it's almost like a gaslighting moment because you're like, you're saying one thing and I keep saying it's not that thing, but then you keep throwing that thing on me. And now it's like, there's a suppression of the own experience being had when there's not an honest acknowledgement of what's actually there. And everyone, we have this, the name of my practice is life force chiropractic. There's this life force that's moving through us, this vital force that's orchestrating, creating, organizing, sustaining, maintaining, dissolving, destructing things in our body, right? And if we can, it's a commune, but like become aware of these forces that are animating through our body. They're communicating to us all the time through sensation. That's their language. And we want to be able to, I think it would be, a good thing to be able to listen, to be able to receive their communication, because there's an information there that's coming through that's creating a directional current for things to happen. And so kind of to bring in another blip of the conversation, it's like, well, what things create more sensation, a sustained sensation opening? Because the feeling, sensation is information, and the information is where we can be empowered to choose like the direction that we can empower more of that feeling to come through. It's got a little tingly, but
but your point is, I
feel that too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I think maybe more of what I wanted to share is like, sometimes people think it's like, oh, it's intuitive. Like you, not me, but like you, like
right.
You, like, oh, it's like, how did you know that you have great intuition? It's like, well, actually, like, perhaps it's really, or I think it's more like, oh, the sensory portals are more open. So like the recognition of patterns of a bigger organizational flow is able to be perceived because there's more perceptive capacity that's online. So, like you asked me, like, do I drink? Well, you didn't ask me that, but
I think I did.
Yeah, like kind of, and like sometimes, of course I've had alcohol, but what I notice, it's not like, oh, I don't drink. It's, I oftentimes choose, that's not the choice that feels most, life supportive for me, because it feels that it suppresses my ability to pick up on subtle things that aren't subtle once you open up your awareness to be aware of that.
Yeah.
So that's just an example.
And that's an incredibly like smart way to explain that too, because I think it makes it easier to understand, like because I can understand someone that's extremely perceptive, like, oh, that person must be like, almost like a magician or a mentalist. Like they see things because they're just paying closer attention. Yeah. Or like when you see a grifter or, a con person, like they're just picking up on cues most people aren't paying attention to.
Right.
So it makes it consciousness almost seem more understandable when you relate it to like, well, it's also just because I can pay attention more. Like, you're like, oh, no, I'm just more like, it's
like I've practiced that, like how to...
You're like, I'm just paying attention to different things than the guy that wants to pickpocket you. Like,
Exactly.
And that makes it kind of more easy to wrap your brain around, I would think.
Yeah.
For some people that are like, oh, consciousness is,
it can seem a little like
hippie dippie.
Yeah,
and I hate to say that, and I say it all the time. And I think it's because I was called it so much as a kid.
It's like a healing mechanism almost to be like, hippie dippie.
I'm taking that word back.
Reclaiming that word.
Woo! We are fun hippie dippies and smart.
That we are.
Extremely. All right. Well, I think we're gonna have to end it right there because I keep getting a low battery, and I don't want to I don't want to not get anything you say.
Oh well, we already did talk about doing this again, so it was already in our future.
Yes, it is. And you know what? I had batteries in my hand this morning, and I put them right down next to my purse because why wouldn't I put them in it?
Well.
But that just gives us a good excuse to do this again.
Yes, we get to reconnect.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Alandi.
Thank you, Siobhan.